I thought I had it all: a loving wife, two beautiful kids, and a humble home we worked so hard to build. I wasn't rich, but I was happy. Until one sunny afternoon, I came home early and everything changed. My wife, my marriage, my future. It all unraveled before my eyes. This is the story of how I lost everything and built something even greater from the ashes. Welcome to Infidelity Truths. Before we dive into today's gripping story, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us create more thrilling stories just for you. Let's begin. My name is Marcus. I've always valued the simple things: my wife, my two kids, my aging but wise parents, and my modest but steady paycheck. Life, in all its unpredictable forms, was something I tried to embrace. I wasn't rich, but I was content, or at least I thought I was. I had a beautiful wife, two adorable toddlers, and a small apartment in a decent part of Tampa, Florida. Our place wasn't fancy, but it was ours. And to me, that mattered. My wife, Naomi, was everything: smart, radiant, warm hearted. The kind of woman who could walk into a room and lift the whole energy just by smiling. She stayed home with the kids while I juggled two jobs: my day shift at the warehouse and night gigs doing interior renovation, a skill I picked up from my dad. Naomi was great with the kids and she kept the house running, even during the most chaotic days. We had bought the apartment with dreams of cozy family dinners, movie nights with the kids, maybe a backyard barbecue someday. We couldn't afford help, so we started renovations ourselves. I scraped and painted, while Naomi tried to keep the twins, Maya and Zane, from climbing into paint buckets or coloring on the walls with crayons. One sunny afternoon in April, Naomi and I were walking back from the store, the kids squirming in the double stroller. The sun was warm on our backs, and the neighborhood was full of families strolling, couples laughing, kids biking. It was picture perfect. Then I saw it: a sleek, brand new Ducati parked in front of the next building over. It gleamed like something out of a magazine. "Wow," Naomi said, nodding toward the bike. "That must have cost a fortune." "Yeah," I muttered. "Some people are living the dream, probably paid in full. Meanwhile, we're struggling to finish our kitchen." Naomi sighed. "We'll get there. We've got our own place. We've got the kids. We'll crawl out of debt eventually." But her tone lacked its usual spark. She pushed the stroller faster, ending the conversation abruptly. That night, after a long shift, I came home to Naomi scrubbing the hallway door, crayon marks again. "Where are Maya and Zane?" I asked, surprised by the silence. "They're upstairs with Tessa and her son, Jalen. Ninth floor," she replied, not looking up. "Go rest. You look wrecked." "I thought you were going to nap too." "I couldn't. Maya's stomach's been off again." I offered to help, but she waved me off. "I'm going to Camilla's later. She's dyeing my hair." I raised an eyebrow. "You're dyeing your hair? Now?" "She's learning to be a colorist. It's free," Naomi replied quickly, catching the concern in my face. "Relax, Marcus. I just need something different." That night I woke to find her in the kitchen with freshly dyed blonde hair. It was drastic. Beautiful, yes, but unexpected. "Where are you going?" I asked. "For a walk with the kids. You're working tonight, right?" "Nope. Got the night off." She hesitated for a second, almost disappointed. "Oh, okay." Something felt off. Naomi had changed, not just her hair, but her energy. She smiled less. She answered with short phrases. I told myself it was just the stress. Twins, renovations, bills, fatigue. It had to be that. But weeks passed and the space between us grew wider. Conversations became clipped. I barely saw her even when we were in the same room. I blamed myself. I was always working, always exhausted. Maybe I hadn't been present enough. Then came the day that broke everything. It was mid-July, scorching hot. I left work early thinking I'd surprise Naomi and the kids. I had this idea we'd grab ice cream, maybe hit the park. As I approached the building, I saw it again. That same fancy SUV parked close. Two people inside, talking and laughing. I heard Naomi's voice. I froze behind a parked sedan, heart thudding. She opened the car door, flicked a cigarette onto the pavement. My breath caught. Naomi didn't smoke. Never had. A man stepped out from the driver's side, tall, confident. I didn't recognize him. They walked into the building together. I waited a minute, maybe 5. My mind screamed 1,000 things, but my legs refused to move. When I finally went upstairs and opened our apartment door, it was empty. Toys scattered on the floor, crayon drawings on the fridge. I dropped to my knees. Something inside me knew the truth, but I still couldn't accept it. Then the elevator dinged. She walked in alone. Naomi? My voice cracked. What's going on? She didn't flinch. Don't shout, she said, calm. Let's go inside. She told me everything. No hesitation, no apology. You saw us, didn't you? She asked, setting her bag down. That's Ethan. We've been seeing each other 2 months now. I felt like my chest had been kicked in. Are you kidding me? We have kids, Naomi. A home. We had a home, she said coldly. I filed for divorce last week. I'm tired of pretending. Tired of you. Tired of this life. There's nothing left for me here. I just stood there, paralyzed. Naomi continued, barely looking at me. Ethan and I are taking the kids to my parents' place for the weekend. I need you gone by Monday. You don't have much stuff anyway. You're tearing our family apart, I muttered. She shrugged. There's no family left to tear. And then the part that broke me. Look at yourself. You're barely scraping by. You're always at work. You don't even know your kids anymore. You didn't even notice I've been slipping away. I want to live, Marcus. Really live. She walked out, gym bag in hand, as if she hadn't just bulldozed my entire world. The door clicked shut behind her. I ran outside, desperate to stop them, to scream, to punch. But the SUV was gone. Just me. And the rain. It poured. Fitting, I guess. I stood there, drenched and hollow. I wasn't a coward, but I also wasn't sure there was anything left to fight for. The divorce went through quickly. Naomi sold the apartment, paid off the mortgage and most of the debts. She and Ethan lasted barely 3 months. He dumped her for someone younger and flashier. She moved back to the neighborhood, back to the same broken life she once said she hated. She called a few weeks ago, said she wanted to talk, said maybe we could try again. But what was there to try? She had been right about one thing. When there's nothing left, there's no point starting over. After Naomi left with Ethan and the kids, I didn't just lose my family, I lost my sense of purpose. I stayed in a motel for a week before crashing on my friend Deshaun's couch. He was one of the few people who didn't offer empty sympathy. Instead, he looked me in the eye and said, "You need to find a reason to get up again, Marcus, because right now you're just surviving." He was right. At first, I tried to drown the silence, worked double shifts, slept through the days, ate whatever was cheapest. Every photo of Maya and Zane felt like a blade to the chest. The ache was constant, like breathing underwater. But then, something shifted. I got a message from my sister, Lana. "You should come visit Mom and Dad. They miss you, and so do your kids." I hadn't seen them in months. I made the drive out, unsure if I could even face them. But when I walked into the backyard and saw Maya run toward me, screaming, "Daddy!" something cracked open. Zane followed, hugging my leg like he never wanted to let go. Naomi watched from the porch. We didn't speak much, just a quiet nod between us. She looked tired. Not in the way moms are always tired, but drained. Like someone who bet on the wrong life and lost. That weekend changed me. I decided it was time to fight. But not for Naomi. For me. For Maya. For Zane. I went back to Tampa, quit my night job, and enrolled in a construction management course I'd been eyeing for years. I sold some of my tools, used the money to pay for evening classes, and started freelancing small renovation gigs on weekends. It was grueling, but for the first time in a long time, I felt alive. The courts granted me weekend custody of the twins. Naomi didn't argue. She was distant. Sometimes she'd pick up the kids in silence, avoiding eye contact. Other times she seemed to linger, watching me laugh with them like she was seeing a version of me she never bothered to notice before. One Friday evening, she stayed a little longer after dropping them off. "The kids talk about you all the time," she said awkwardly. I nodded. They're my world. She stood there for a second, looking around the apartment I now rented. A small two-bedroom place, nothing special. But it was clean, warm. Photos of the twins were on the fridge. A handmade drawing hung above the couch. They seem happy here, she said quietly. They are. A pause. Marcus. I'm sorry, Naomi finally said, voice low. I thought I was chasing happiness, but I was just running from responsibility, from the life I didn't understand. I didn't answer. She looked at me, truly looked for the first time in years. I was wrong about you. It was a strange moment. Not romantic, not dramatic, just real. But forgiveness doesn't always mean reunion. I said, I'm glad you see it now, but I've already started building again. And this time I'm doing it right. Naomi nodded slowly. I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know. And then she left. A year later, I walked into a community center holding Zane's hand. Maya had a dance recital that evening. Naomi was already there, smiling at me nervously as we sat beside each other. No tension, just peace. After the performance, the kids beamed at both of us like we were still one big family. In some ways, we were, but not in the way Naomi had once taken for granted. She looked at me and whispered, You've changed. No, I replied. I just remembered who I was supposed to be. 2 years had passed since the divorce. Marcus wasn't just surviving anymore. He was thriving. After completing his course in construction management, he launched his own renovation business, Build Rise Interiors, focusing on affordable upgrades for single parents and low-income families. Word spread fast. His honesty, reliability, and attention to detail made him the go-to guy in 3 counties. He now lived in a modest but beautiful townhouse in Clearwater with a cozy guest room, a backyard the kids loved, and shelves filled with their artwork. But what made Marcus smile most these days was Jasmine. They met at a community project where he volunteered, helping rebuild a shelter damaged during a storm. She was the project lead, a school counselor with a kind voice and fierce determination. Their first conversation was about ceiling tiles. Their second, about life after heartbreak. By their third date, Jasmine had met Maya and Zane, and they adored her. She never tried to replace their mother. She just listened, played, and loved without needing recognition. One Saturday afternoon, while Marcus grilled burgers in the backyard and Jasmine helped Maya with a glittery craft project, Zane blurted out, Are you going to marry Jasmine, Daddy? Marcus froze, spatula in hand, looking over at her. Jasmine laughed but didn't answer. Later that night, she gently said, No pressure. But if you ever decide to take that step again, I'll be right beside you. Meanwhile, Naomi was unraveling. After Ethan dumped her, she'd returned to her parents' place temporarily. But even after moving into her own apartment, she couldn't shake the feeling that she'd traded everything for nothing. The kids talked about Marcus constantly. His weekend adventures, the warm dinners, the bedtime stories, and Jasmine. She heard the name more often than she liked. Naomi's bitterness grew. One evening, after picking up the kids, she lingered again at Marcus's place. So she lives here now? She asked. Marcus looked up from the dishes. Number. But we're serious. Naomi folded her arms. And the kids? They call her what? Mom? No, he said gently. They just call her Jasmine. And she's good to them. That's what matters. Naomi scoffed. Must be nice, picking up someone else's broken pieces and turning them into gold. Marcus dried his hands, then met her gaze. I wasn't broken, Naomi. Just underestimated. She flinched, not from anger, from truth. You know, she said softer this time. I used to think you'd never change, that you were just stuck, a dreamer. But I was the one afraid of working through the hard parts. We all make choices, Marcus said, but sometimes there's no going back. Naomi nodded, her eyes glassy. I missed what we had. Marcus paused, then kindly but firmly replied, I don't. 6 months later, Marcus stood in the middle of a sun drenched backyard. Jasmine wore a soft ivory dress. Maya sprinkled flower petals along the aisle. Zane beamed beside him as his best man. As they exchanged vows in front of close friends and family, Naomi sat quietly in the third row. No tears, no bitterness, just acceptance. Because watching Marcus rebuild his life from nothing made one thing clear: he was never the problem. She just wasn't the one meant to walk with him through the fire. 6 months into their marriage, Marcus and Jasmine's life was far from perfect, but it was real. Their blended family was learning how to grow together. There were tantrums, late night homework tears, and messy dinners, but there was also laughter, warmth, and peace. Peace Marcus had never known before. One rainy evening, Jasmine sat beside him on the porch swing, her hand resting over his. "You know," she said, "you've changed." "How so?" he asked, looking out over the garden he'd just finished rebuilding with Zane and Maya. "You smile now, even when no one's watching." Marcus gave a quiet chuckle. "Because I'm finally living, not just existing." Meanwhile, Naomi was on her own journey. Alone, but not lost. She'd started therapy, something she once mocked. The sessions helped her unpack the deep resentment she'd buried for years. Resentment that came from comparing her life to others, from mistaking luxury for love, and from never fully appreciating the simple beauty of loyalty. She apologized to Marcus properly one day. Not in passing, not in frustration, but in a park, on a bench, with Maya and Zane playing in the background. "I didn't just fail you," she said. "I failed myself. I wanted the dream life so badly I didn't realize I had it. You weren't perfect, but you tried. You never stopped trying." Marcus looked at her. There was no hatred in his eyes, just the calm of a man who had made peace with his past. "Thank you," he said. "I accept your apology, and I hope you find happiness, not in someone else, but in yourself." They sat in silence for a while, watching the kids play. And for the first time in years, there was no tension, just closure. A year later, Jasmine opened her own youth center downtown, and Marcus's business expanded to employ 5 full-time workers, most of them single fathers rebuilding their lives. The kids were thriving. Zane loved baseball, and Maya had started taking piano lessons. One sunny afternoon, Marcus stood in his backyard, manning the grill as Jasmine set up the picnic table. Friends and neighbors filled the lawn. Even Naomi came by, bringing homemade cookies and a smile that wasn't forced. It was a celebration, not of a birthday, not of a holiday, just life. Marcus looked around, his children laughing, his wife dancing barefoot with Maya, his neighbors cheering on a backyard game. He took it all in and thought, this is the life she thought didn't exist. This is the life she gave up on. But this is the life I fought for, the life I earned. He no longer carried bitterness nor pain. He had something much stronger now: gratitude. If Marcus's story moved you, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and press the bell icon so you never miss stories like this. Raw, real, and deeply human. Until next time, keep believing in second chances and never let go of hope.